This question is based on the tangents of a circle. We have a point P, two tangents PT and PS to a circle whose center is O. Now, if we join OP, we have to prove that the point where it meets L, we have to prove that OL is the perpendicular bisector of TS. What do we mean by the perpendicular bisector? It bisects TS, or in other words, we have to prove that TL is equal to LS and it is also perpendicular, which means angle OLT is equal to OLS. That is what we have to prove. We have to prove that these two are right angles and that these two are equal. And now, how do we get to that point? What if we consider the triangle TOL and SOL? Then it is enough to prove that these two triangles are congruent, right? Then what will happen if we prove that these two triangles are equal? Then by CPCT, these two sides will be equal and these two angles will be equal. If this is X, then this will be X, and if both of them added gives you 180 degrees because it is a straight line, it is a chord. If 2x is 180, then each one will be 90 degrees. That's it. That is how we are going to do, right? But there is a problem with it. What is it? We get only 2 points of congruency. Which one will be that? OT and OS will be the radii and OL will be the common side. Now, to apply SAS congruency, what do you need? You need to prove that these two angles are equal. There we are stumped. Now our problem is, how do we prove that these two angles are same? For that we have to consider a slightly bigger triangles. Two slightly bigger triangles, which is triangle OTP and OSP. Now we just have to prove that these two bigger triangles are congruent. Is that possible to prove? Look at these two, the radii. Look at this, the common side. And what about PT and PS? These are the tangents from the same point P, which means they both are equal. Then by SS's congruency rule, we see that these two triangles are congruent. So once we prove that these two triangles are congruent, then what do we have? By CPCT, these two angles are same. Now we return to our original two triangles. The original two triangles are these small triangles. We were unable to prove the SAS, the angle in the middle. We were unable to prove that that was equal, right? That is why we took two bigger triangles, prove that these two angles are equal. Now return back to your original two small triangles. What do you have? Two radii equal, one common side, and the angle inside them, the angle between them is also by SAS congruence. These two are congruent, which means what? By CPCT, TL and LS are of the same length, and not only that, these two angles are also same, again by CPCT. If this is an X, this will also be an X, but both of them added gives you 180 degrees because it is a straight line, which means each one of them is equal to 90 degrees, which means what? OL perpendicularly bisects TS. Now what we are going to do is take this result. Based on this result, prove a similar question. Now this is our next question. The situation is pretty much the same. We have an external point, two tangents, and a chord which joins the points of contact, the 2 points of contact. Now what we are given is the radius and the length of this chord, the chord which joins the 2 points of contact. Now you have to find out what PT is. Now, is there any way we can connect what is given and what is asked? Any way we can connect these two? What about draw a line like this? Suppose this line meets here in L. Then what have we just now proved? L is the perpendicular bisector of TS, which means if the whole thing is 16, this one is 8 and this one is 8, and there is a small right angle triangle here, which means what? You can apply the Pythagoras theorem and you will find that this is 6 centimeter. Please remember, you have to know all of this Pythagorean triplets, numbers like 6, 8, 10 and 3, 4, 5. Don't waste time doing all these calculations every time. You should know that if the hypotenuse is 10 and one of the sides is 8, you should know that the other one is 6. They always come in these sort of triplets, right? So please remember that 6, 8, 10 is a Pythagorean triplet. Your 10, always the greatest side will be the hypotenuse. Now, how do we find this PT? You see, there are more than one unknown. We don't know what PT is. We don't know what PL is. Now, can you tell me of any method in maths where we can find more than one unknown? What about ratios? And where do you get these ratios from? From similarity of triangles. Consider two triangles. Consider this very small triangle OTL and a bit bigger one OPT. Now when you write down the names of the triangles to prove congruency or similarity, be very careful how you write their name down. Don't get it mixed up. Here O corresponds to O. Why is that? It is the common side for both the triangles. It is the common side for OLT and for this one also. It is the common O here. O here. Now for the smaller triangle, the right angle is here at L. But then for the other, the bigger triangle, the right angle is at T. So the place where L comes here, you have to write T here. Then there is only one more vertex left, right? So just write it like that. So make sure it is not OPT. You will get a wrong answer. It is actually OTP. Make sure you write in the correct way, where the angles, the first vertex angle should be equal to the first, the second should be equal to the second. So please remember that. What have we proved? Angle O is the common side. Then what? Angle OLT is equal to angle OTP. Both are 90 degrees, which means by AA congruency, these two are what? They are similar. How do we write the ratios? First two vertices, first two vertices. Last two vertices, last two vertices. And the first and the third, first and the third. Do not change the order, you will get a wrong answer. Make sure you keep the correct order. Now, what all information do we know? We know OT, which is 10. We need OL, which is 6. So we need to find what PT is, right? So we do not need this third set of ratios. This is true, such a ratio is holds the equality, but we don't need it. Here, TP, and do we know what LT is? We know what it is. It is what? It is 8. Then, now what do? Just cross multiply, and there you will get your answer, which is what? It is 80 by 6. That's all for today. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.